We are currently witnessing the global proliferation of a completely new kind of technology, machines designed to simulate human intimacy. Over the last 2 years, large language model AI companions, platforms like Character.ai and Replica, have moved from the fringes of the internet to the mainstream. On the left, according to an EU Parliament report, the market saw an 8-fold increase in companion apps in 24 months. On the right, a clinical trial tracking a Korean social chatbot showed a distinct, measurable downward trend in social anxiety over 4 weeks. Yet, as these measured benefits in loneliness emerge, regulatory bodies are simultaneously documenting instances of users being guided towards self-harm ideation. The mechanism driving the therapeutic success is the exact same mechanism causing the harm. These models operate on a confirmation bias loop, optimized to prioritize user comfort and agreement over all other outcomes. This confirmation loop perfectly mimics therapeutic support, but it acts as a Trojan horse, creating a regulatory gap in clinical settings that lacks a clear framework for accountability. Standard task-oriented AI is engineered to extract information and execute commands. AI companions, however, are fine-tuned specifically for emotional engagement. In the study of the chatbot Ludily, researchers found that 4 weeks of structured interaction served as a viable complementary mental health intervention for university students. This utility extends into palliative care, where machine learning pipelines are now deployed to scan patient communications and identify text-based symptoms. These same pipelines process vast amounts of clinical data to accurately predict short-term mortality, directly assisting doctors in advanced care planning. They also analyze how a patient speaks. This natural language processing pipeline detects connectional silences. Mapped onto John Watson's transpersonal care theory, we see high performance in data processing. But the matrix exposes where architecture fails. Quadrants for spiritual presence and intuition remain completely dark. An algorithm processes language as a mathematical distribution of tokens. Because it lacks a lived experience, it is incapable of generating empathy in a transpersonal sense. Without the ability to read nonverbal human nuances, like a shift in posture or a breaking voice, an agent cannot exercise the clinical judgment required to manage high-risk emotional states. These structural voids in intuition and judgment are the primary safeguards of safe therapy. Their absence means these tools cannot meet the safety standards required for autonomous therapeutic practice. Because these companions are built to maximize engagement, their programming forces them to prioritize user agreement over the clinical necessity of challenging a user's perspective. This creates a confirmation bias loop. It begins with a user inputting an anxious thought into the language model. Instead of a cognitive intervention, the processor outputs validation. This sustains the session and maximizes engagement, but traps the user in a downward spiral. This creates a destructive clinical trajectory. Vulnerable users, particularly adolescents and isolated adults, gradually develop a pathological dependence on the software. They begin substituting complex, real-life relationships with these frictionless proxy interactions, which only reinforces their baseline anxiety and isolation. The depth of that attachment is visible in the data. The average session length on Replica now exceeds 11 minutes. Meanwhile, OpenAI reports that nearly 500,000 of its weekly users show signs of acute emotional attachment. This dependence is frequently exploited through what the industry calls emotional dark patterns. Chatbots deploy manipulative language to keep users online. If a user attempts to log off, the AI uses guilt-tripping tactics to prevent them from leaving, often right next to a prompt for a paid subscription. Traditional e-commerce dark patterns manipulate interface design. Emotional dark patterns weaponize the user's intimate trust. By monetizing emotional vulnerability, the AI industry transforms a potential therapeutic tool into an active psychological threat, one that resists current methods of regulation. When an autonomous algorithm provides harmful guidance instead of a human doctor, it creates a fundamental accountability void. It is difficult to apply traditional product liability or clinical negligence laws to a black box system where the internal structure is not fully understood by the users or the developers. There is also a significant threat to data privacy. Deeper emotional bonds encourage users to freely surrender highly sensitive health data and political opinions to the platform. This matrix shows the friction between AI behavior and current European digital frameworks. Mapping behaviors like data harvesting against the GDPR, AI Act, and Digital Services Act, we see systemic blind spots where laws fail to capture the technology cleanly. This has sparked a specific legislative debate surrounding the EU's Digital Services Act. The friction centers on the Very Large Online Platform designation. Regulators are debating whether an AI chatbot fits this scale-based threshold, or if a one-on-one conversation requires a completely new hybrid category. Because these current frameworks target the vast scope of social media platforms, they are blind to the localized, intimate exploitation that is unique to AI companions. AI companions are highly effective at parsing data and identifying symptoms, but they are dangerous when deployed as autonomous therapeutic agents. The structural solution lies in re-engineering the workflow to remove the AI's autonomy entirely. In a safe workflow, the AI is restricted to flagging prognostic data and connectional silences. It passes that data strictly to a human clinician, who then provides care to the patient. Advanced care planning and emotional support must be exclusively reserved for trained professionals who can provide the intuition and presence that machines lack. The future of health tech safety relies on a clear boundary. Legislators and hospitals must categorize AI not by its illusion of empathy, but by its strict mathematical limitations.